This is not an efficient method for the preparation of sustenance.
Well, you're right, Data. The ship's computer would be more efficient, but it wouldn't allow for the subtlety needed for great cooking. It would give you all of the ingredients in predetermined measurements. It wouldn't allow for flair or individuality. And Data, as we both know, flair is what marks the difference between artistry and mere competence.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds. Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we're on a journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we'll be talking about the Season 2 episode, Time Squared. I forgot the name for a second.
Originally their title was Time to the Second. I'm very glad they went with this instead.
Yeah, that's dumb. The original air date is April 1st, 1989. Ooh, April Fools.
Is that because the show is a joke? Ooh.
Ooh. So we'll take it away to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so we start off not on the bridge for once, but in I guess it's Riker's room?
Yeah, it's
or
supposed to be
something?
his quarters, yes.
Okay, but whatever reason, he looks like he's hosting a dinner party or something, but he's in the dark for reasons.
Yeah.
So
Drama.
he's like, there's a set table. He takes stuff out of the thing that makes stuff. I don't remember what it's called.
Replicator.
Replicator, right. Replicator. I'm going to have to write that down at some point. And puts stuff on the table. I thought that one of the things kind of looked like macaroni, but I was like, you can't have that little a bowl for macaroni to share with a bunch of people. That's
It's
wrong.
rude.
It's illegal.
Yep. So he's hosting a dinner party. He's like cracked an egg with a knife.
Isn't that a breakfast party?
Party. Just food party.
Yeah. He's hosting like breakfast or brunch or something.
Breakfast food party.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And so my Netflix, I keep the subtitles on. My Netflix said that humming a jazzy tune.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Riker loves jazz.
Yeah, I just like that. That was like the
And a bone for me.
Humming jazzy tune. So then Data, Geordi, Worf, and Dr. P come in. And Riker is like preparing the eggs, although I find it very funny that so he like dumps the eggs on like a heating thing.
It's like a hot plate kind of skillet
thing.
Yeah, it's a hot plate skillet.
And I think it's like Dr. P who's like all impressed. She's like, "Oh, look at that. Like you have a practiced hand." I'm like, "He dumped eggs onto a hot plate."
Yeah, not exactly the most complex thing.
And then they're mixing. I'm like, "Those eggs that's not an exceptional looking scrambled egg."
Yeah.
Like I'm no chef, but I can make some eggs.
Yeah.
I don't know, it looks fine.
Also, they keep saying omelet, but those are clearly scrambled eggs.
Yeah, those are
there's nothing
scrambled.
omelet about that.
But we do get to learn a tiny bit about Riker, which is like honestly so great. I was like really excited about that. So we learn Riker learned to cook because it was just him and his dad growing up, and his dad didn't like to cook, so the job fell to him because his mom died when he was little. Mm-hmm. Which is like, oh, Riker.
Unfortunately, there was so much content in this episode that one of the closing scenes they were going to have was cut, in which Riker was also going to cook for them again, closing up with the story that they went with. And apparently he's supposed to cook for them Alaskan stew, which is not a real thing.
Yeah.
And supposedly everybody...
It might become a thing.
It might. Supposedly everybody enjoys it except for Worf, who's like, I prefer the omelet.
Oh, yeah. Worf goes to town on the eggs, but Dr. P and Geordi are not fans.
Yeah. He also gives eggs to Data.
Yeah, Data doesn't even eat them. He just sort of like looks and Riker's just like staring at Data, being like, "Eggs? Gonna eat the eggs, man?" And then, but then Picard's like, "Riker to bridge," and for whatever reason that means everybody to bridge. So
Yep.
Everybody follows Riker to the bridge because they found there's like a shuttlecraft like floating out in the middle of where they are, and there's not like anybody else who's supposed to be out there. So they're like, that's really weird. So they like, there's like one human like life form on it. So they're like, let's I almost said a laser beam. Let's tractor beam it into the ship and see what's going on. So they like tractor it. I don't.
Yeah.
They tractor beam.
Yeah.
Or they just beam. I almost said tractor it. They tractor it.
I think that's
No, that's
just
that's a correct statement.
Yeah,
Is that really?
That's
Yeah.
how they say it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're just
Okay.
tractoring it in with a beam instead of with like a cable.
Okay. All right. So that works. So the ship comes in, the shuttle, they open it and gasp. It's Picard looking kind of gray and kind of greasy.
Yeah. He doesn't look great.
Yeah, they did that on purpose to differentiate him.
Yeah.
But also probably to show that he's been through some shit.
An interesting choice. So they realize then that like the shuttlecraft is a copy of, it's the same one they have that's like literally just feet away. Also, quick side note, when they did like sort of a wider shot of the shuttlecraft, I noticed the logo and it looks almost exactly like the Canada Post logo. It's got the like white sideways triangle in a red circle.
It's just their insignia turned sideways.
Yeah, it's also the Canada Post logo.
Okay, sure thing.
Sure, Jan.
Hey, I'm no. Look it up. It looks the same.
I
Like
see.
there's a couple of minor differences.
Yeah, I see why.
But the shapes are right.
Yeah, it's reminiscent. I see why.
Yeah.
You're reminded of it.
Yeah. George Glass. I was like, I'm not George Glass. I couldn't remember what George's last name was. That. Oh God, it's
What?
I'm tired. George Glass is. That's what the Sure Jan thing is from.
Oh.
Is it
Thought it
from
was
the
like
Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
Marcia says Sure Jan because Jan says that she has a boyfriend named George Glass and he goes to another school.
Oh.
And that's why Marcia goes, Sure Jan.
Oh, okay. I knew it was a Brady Bunch thing, but I didn't know the context.
Yeah, George Glass is the fake boyfriend. Thanks, more useless information that I have in my head. Okay, so second Picard. Okay, I actually wrote in my notes, ooh, second Picard, one for Beverly, one for Riker. But
Ew.
obviously not. But
Or both for me.
that would be almost overwhelming. Oh God, two Picards. Two men standing over me going, oh. That's too much. It's too much. So they find out like his second Picard's vitals are kind of weird, so they need to bring him to the sick bay. So then Troy pops in, and I was like, why wasn't she invited to the egg party?
Yeah.
Because so like Picard and Troy weren't invited to Riker's egg party. That
That's right.
seems kind of like
Probably because
mean.
they were
I don't
on
know, like,
duty
that's-
at that point. Like maybe their schedules were just they were busy and everyone else was supposed to have that time off.
Well, I mean, it could have made something to be brought up. I don't know. It just feels like, okay, cool. So you didn't invite some of the gang? Okay,
Yeah.
Riker. Okay, so Geordi, so they see like a mark on the ship and they're like, okay, it's one tiny mark. And they're like, that looks like something, remnants of an antimatter explosion. And I'm like, it's like a tiny little like brush of like dirt. Like that's really what, I mean, okay.
It's damaged, but
So-
it could literally be anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody could have just like, I don't know, just been
You
dirty.
could have scraped the side of it, like
Yeah. There's so many things. Anyways, so they take second Picard to sickbay and Geordi comes up and tries to get the shuttle up and running with Data. They're having some difficulty, but then they're like, what if we do the opposite charge of what we're supposed to do? Instead of positive to whatever, let's do negative to whatever, and it turns on. So they find that second Picard is from 6 hours in the future. So they try to wake him up, but he's not having a good time. He's
no.
straight up not having fun. And he the way that his face kind of reacts, it kind of reminds me of like, you know, when like there's a baby and you like play with lights in front of a baby and they're like, what like nope, just me.
I don't play with lights in front of babies.
I know, it's like a face of like object permanence that doesn't understand, basically. So, okay, so then they watch this video. So I was like, oh, nice, like, I got to get a little bit of a shout out to the Enterprise AV team. So they watch like a really trippy shuttle log from the ship where like you see from the shuttlecraft where you see like Riker on like the platform and then on like the shuttle bay, and then like the Enterprise like exploding in a tornado or I wrote cloudy tunnel before we learned what it actually was.
Vortex.
Yeah. So we find out the ship blows up in about 3 hours and 19 minutes from that point. So they're like, okay, we're like heading to a certain destination. We should be there in 3 days. There's nothing on any scans that are telling us otherwise, like something's wrong. So let's just like keep going. And so then like Dr. P thinks that like Picard's body function stuff will like go back to normal once like timelines sort of line up. Like they get to the point where like he has to go to the ship, to the shuttlecraft. And so also, Dr. P also like has a conversation with Troy that like she will relieve him of his duties if he like acts irrational, which at this point, like, I don't know, he's not been like, oh my god, freaking out, but he's not been like totally chill. But he hasn't been showing anything to be like worried about. So like, calm down, Dr. P, Jesus.
Oh, like everything he's done has been reasonable for the situation.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that like, I don't know if it was like they chose to say that to like add some tension, but like he's not doing anything that crazy, so that just seems like a weird threat.
It also doesn't get brought up again.
Yeah, because like, he still doesn't do anything particularly. Okay, well, that's not, well, we'll get to that. I guess. Okay, so now we go to, so Picard and Riker having a conversation, and Picard's couch looks comfortable.
It does, doesn't it?
I like to lie down on that couch. But they're basically having a conversation how like it's going against everything that like Picard's natural tendencies are to like do something, to react, to like make a plan. But right now, because they don't know how to, change what's about to happen, because they don't know what is going to happen, so they just have to wait. But of course that waiting lasts 1 second, because immediately Worf is like, hey guys, come to the bridge, there's a vortex so under us. So they like jump into action, and so the like tractor beam is like holding them in. There's like a tractor beam in the vortex, and from like above, the vortex kind of looks like if Niagara Falls was like falling into a tornado.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then Picard just has sort of like a whole thing of like, okay, what should I do? What did they do the first time around that like I should do the opposite? So first he's like, okay, we should stay and study it. And I was like, no, don't stay and study it. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. And then, but they can't move and they get sucked in deeper. And he's like, okay, shoot. And then we realize that the reason Picard was like in the shuttle in the first place, because everybody was like, that's so out of character, why would you leave the Enterprise? It was because, so like the vortex has like a fix on Picard, so it kept like shooting him with like blue laser beams in the chest for reasons I don't know.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I need to distract it, I need to get out, so like to save the Enterprise, so I need to go to the shuttle so it follows me and like you guys can go free. But then he realizes, oh shit, okay, so that's what he did. So then Picard number 2. So then he goes to Picard number 2. Picard number 2 wakes up, and they like have a very awkward, a weird directed conversation where they're like, Picard's like, it's basically like Picard number 1 isn't there, because Picard number 2 is basically just talking to himself, like monologuing to himself almost. It's really weird. And yeah, so basically Picard number 1 just keeps being like, tell me what your other choice was, and Picard number 2 is like not helpful. Kind of being honestly kind of un-Picard like somehow. And eventually Picard number 1 is like, oh, so I guess we kind of have to like just break the cycle. So he full out just takes a phaser and just shoots him. And O'Brien just stands there so long just staring at Picard's
Why
dead
did O'Brien
body.
come with him? Like, he was just there.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna
was
ask
so
too.
funny. Why
Like-
did he just stare at him for so long?
Also, like, Picard
It's so
asks
weird.
Dr. Pulaski to come to the shuttle bay. She does and brings O'Brien with her for some
Yeah.
reason.
And then like, oh, okay, so
She's like,
that
he's
Picard
dead,
is
and
dead.
then she just fucks off.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just leaves the body on like a partway in the shuttlecraft, and O'Brien just staring.
Yeah.
Like he's staring in the scene. They cut back to the bridge, or wherever, and then they cut back to O'Brien, and he's still staring, staring at the body.
He's just there so someone can react.
He has no reaction though. He just stares at it.
Yep.
That's it. And so then like realize they like fix the sort of circle, and second Picard and the second ship just disappear, and I forgot, they like drive, they're like, okay guys, let's like go deep, and they like drive into the tractor beam and make it out the other end or something. I don't know how that works. And then they're like, cool, we've like defeated the vortex. And Picard number 2? I don't know. And then they just keep sailing to their other destination, Endicor. Yeah, this episode was wild.
In the observation lounge, there's a small coda with Picard basically just talking to himself because he says like 2 things to Riker. But that was kind of an inconsequential coda. I actually thought the episode was just slightly rushed towards the end of it, which disappointed
Yeah.
me because I really enjoyed everything that was leading up to it.
Yeah, it had a good build-up, and it kind of rushed the ending a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's too detrimental.
No, I don't think so either, but I would like to point out that originally this episode was supposed to tie in to another, and they were not going to get the resolution in this episode. They were going to get it in a future one instead, but Gene Roddenberry said, I'm sorry, continuing stories? We don't do that on Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, didn't want to
Ugh.
tease stuff.
Yeah.
Rude.
Well, it wasn't even a tease. It was just flat out, you would not get the answer in this episode, and it would be resolved in a couple of episodes.
Okay. I can see for that era of television not wanting to do that.
Yeah, but Gene Roddenberry, for somebody who's as progressive as he was, really didn't seem to like new ideas coming into his show.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought that would have been interesting, but I'm satisfied with what they did with it.
Yes, me too. And full disclosure, this is the first time I've ever seen this episode all the way through. There was no particular reason why I never watched this episode. I just never got around to it. And even when I rewatch TNG, for whatever reason, I just skip it because I'm like, oh, I don't remember that episode, and I don't want to waste my time on it.
Yeah,
Sort of
I
thing.
often forget about it, and actually, I think in my watch list, I'm going to increase it to a must watch because this is not as much a sci-fi episode as it is a Picard character study, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, because you get a lot of themes of like, because it's kind of implied that Picard abandoned the ship while it was in crisis mode, which is like obviously huge, like no, you know?
Yes.
Captains always go down with the ship, and also Picard's not the type to just leave in an emergency.
Right, and even he points that out, like
Yeah.
while they're talking about it, when he's just like, I see nothing familiar in that man.
And he's very resentful because he thinks the future him is a coward, and he doesn't like that he possibly makes that decision.
Yeah, that person represents a combination of failure and self-doubt, which is really hard for a character that we've known nothing but confidence from up until this point.
Yeah, and I love that they don't spell it out in the episode. I mean, they kind of do with Troy at one point, but it's not
Yeah,
like...
when she and Pulaski are talking, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like... To me, it feels natural. It doesn't feel like... It still feels like it's giving the audience credit.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because it spends a lot of time building up into that point, and the conversation that she and Pulaski would have about it makes perfect sense because Pulaski hasn't been interacting with him for the majority of the episode. She's been down there in sickbay dealing with this Picard, and suddenly she sees him come in and basically start shaking her patient awake and be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I mean, like, given what she's experienced up until that point in the episode, my reaction would be, he does not seem all right.
Yeah. Also, in that scene, just before that conversation happens, Picard's in the room and he's like, counselor, like, stay here because he'll be able to communicate with you before anyone else.
Yes.
Then they have that conversation, and then Troy leaves.
Oh, yes.
Just fucks off. And like,
Yep.
Wait, you're supposed to stay with Picard too.
Yeah, I don't know what the point in doing that was, but obviously a line got kept in that shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Oh, also her, like, when she felt second Picard's like anguish, that was an interesting reaction.
Yeah, all of Picard's reactions, I think, in this episode, they really serve to build up just how unnerved he is by this, because he goes into like a visible shocked state multiple times throughout the episode. And sometimes you get the reaction from Troy about it, but sometimes it's just him. And he like struggles to bring himself back to the conversation or back to the interactions that he's having. And he will go back into confident mode like several times. But at first he's just like, well...
I think Patrick Stewart does an amazing job of acting out the internal struggle.
Yes.
Without like telegraphing it, without saying it. Like, he's very good at like showing it.
So what do you think, Dory? You've got a real strong character building episode, and it's not even one that we've remembered about because it's not one of the best examples of it.
It was fine. I did write in my notes. Okay, so this is a brain fuck episode. Oh no, brain fuck science episode.
I mean, the story is definitely that, but it's using sci-fi, in this case, sci-fi that does not completely line up with real things. I mean,
there's far better like time loop and time travel episodes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them trying to explore what's going on just to find out that it's literally just jet lag. So
Worf does like mention the like Mobius theory.
That was weird coming from Worf.
Yeah,
it's like I've heard of it, but I didn't really know exactly what it was. But I wrote a twist in the fabric of space where time becomes a loop from which there is no escape, which makes sense. I get that.
Have you ever heard of a Mobius strip?
Yeah, like I know the term. I know what it. I know it kind of looks like a weird, like an elastic. I can picture it, like an elastic band, but it's not. But it's like for like the front and the inside of it.
Yeah,
sort of.
It's like if you take a strip of paper, twist it, and then join the ends together.
Yeah,
it's like you get a loop where you can like draw a line, like around it, like forever.
Yeah, it technically only has one side.
Yeah. I don't know, stuff like that kind of like I get it, but it also confuses me because like how is that? I mean, I was gonna say how is that a thing, but it's of course like I guess we don't know if it's real. Or, I don't know. It's a theory. It freaks me out. That sort of thing. I have to like. It's too much thinking.
I think they're just trying to. They're trying to connect some real science to their sci-fi bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, in this case, this is not a Mobius strip situation because they get out of it.
Yeah.
They punch a hole through the paper.
Yeah, they actually explore almost this exact thing in another episode later on and do a much better job of it then. In this case, the science fiction was there as a method to tell a story about Picard, whereas the next time that we deal with it, it's more about the plot and what's going on there than it is about like a character study like this was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this was just kind of a means to an end rather than like the whole purpose of the story. But I guess there is a little bit of the mystery, but to me it just feels more like a backdrop to dealing with Picard's character. Which
I mean the tension is well built up in it though.
Yes. That's why I think maybe I just never watched this episode, because there's like much better examples of what they were trying to do.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think this is a good episode. And, like, I think you should watch it if you're watching through the series. Mm-hmm. But it's not the strongest example of either a character piece or this sort of time mindfuck thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, like, kind of figured out what the, like, why Picard got out of there as soon as they, like, the vortex started hitting him with the, like, the first time he hit both Picards with the blue light thing, the zapping.
No, the blue lightning or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was strange.
Then immediately I was like, oh, okay, so that's why he left. It was to like get off the ship, to be a distraction. So that was like a full like good while before they reveal it in the show.
That's true.
Yeah. And the whole thing is like they take a long time to figure out that basically like you just have to do the opposite of everything, which like I knew was going to be the solution like right after like Data and Geordi figure it out. You know?
Yeah, they definitely hold your hand through that point a little bit.
It's like, okay, I get it, it's opposite day.
Yeah, I wrote it's opposite day.
But when people were watching this episode, there were also commercial breaks and other things to distract them, so
oh yeah, I
guess.
Yeah, I guess I understand the theory of like having to reiterate stuff because of that, because of commercial breaks and people being distracted by whatever while they're watching TV and not being able to rewind like we can today.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did quite enjoy about it is when they come to the realization about what actually happened in the conference room, because Geordi showed them the footage that they had. Mm-hmm. After they all return to duty, they do a couple of shots there of Worf and Riker about how they're basically uncomfortable in their own positions. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really good, short, but impactful scene to show just how awkward everybody feels about this situation.
Yeah.
So it's not just Picard feeling uncomfortable about it. It's also the fact that, like, okay, well, now we know the future. What do we do? Fuck.
I feel like they could have explored Picard's character more.
Yeah, they definitely could have.
I think the downfall of this episode in, like... So we're being very nitpicky because, like, there's actually, weirdly enough, there's usually less to say when something's good.
Yeah.
But, okay, getting back to my point, I think the downfall of this episode is that it's not necessarily a too many ideas thing, but I think, like, they kind of wanted to have it both ways. They wanted this episode to have, like, this interesting time and mystery, and also have this, like, exploration of Picard's character. And I think that they
kind of got in the way of each other a little bit.
Yeah, they got in the way of each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the mystery took up time from the character exploration, and the character exploration took up time from the mystery.
Yeah.
They weren't able to, like, integrate it as well.
So it was Maurice Hurley who wrote the teleplay for the episode, and what he said was his thoughts on coming up with the concept were like, what if we just traveled 6 hours in time instead of years? Like, we're always doing all of these stories about traveling years back in time or forward in time. What if it's just a few hours? What do we do with that? And so that episode idea for the plot came about before the concept of making it a Picard story. So it's almost like the Picard story is shoehorned in. It's like it's put in very well. It doesn't feel out of place, but it definitely suffers from the fact that these were two good ideas that probably each could have been explored better separately.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part, but I do think it's kind of weak that they're like that. Like, everybody went to, oh, how could, like, what happened that was so bad that, like, Picard would have just, like, left the ship, but, like, from a bad angle, like, that they would have thought, what, in 6 hours or 3 hours and 19 minutes from that point, like, they thought he would, like, all of a sudden change his entire personality in the span of those hours it took, that he would, like, obviously there'd be a good reason why he'd leave the ship. It wasn't like, oh, because the way they set it up, it kind of makes it sound like, oh, he left the ship to, like, die. And it just kind of feels like everybody sort of thought the worst at first. And I'm like, it's 6 hours from now. How... You think that his personality is going to change that much that he just sort of would leave the ship?
I don't know
without a good reason.
if I got that. I thought it was more confusion from most people's parts. Like, they accepted what they saw more readily than Picard did.
I feel like more like suspicion. Like, I get the confusion, but I feel like it would... Like, I would give him benefit of the doubt right away. Because, like, it's not like, oh, he... Like, I would right from the start be like, he must have had a really, really good reason. Because knowing him, like, there's not...
And to be honest, I think the rest of the crew does give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think, like, to me, it didn't come off as though everyone else thought the worst. It came off to me that Picard thought the worst.
Yeah, Picard
That-
definitely thought the worst, but it did sort of feel like, I don't know, like people felt like not suspicious per se, but like not thinking the best.
I don't know. I thought everybody, like, because they were all still listening to him just fine.
Well, I mean, he's still their captain.
Yeah, no, I don't mean that. I mean, like, they were never, like, questioning his decisions or whatnot. They were still very confident in his decisions, clearly. But there were a lot of moments of Picard clearly doubting himself in all of their discussions.
Oh, yes. No, he's definitely the one who thought the worst of himself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe that juxtaposition could be what made you feel that way. Because, like I said, I did not get that from it.
I also sort of got it from Dr. P, because like he was, like, though he was kind of doubting himself, he wasn't acting irrationally. And her first thing was like, well, if he starts to do anything, I'm going to take him down.
Yeah.
Or something. I'm like, that's a really like extreme reaction to something because like to me that sort of felt like, what does she think he's going to do?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been acting irrational to this point.
Yeah.
So I kind of took that as like either he's gonna do something that's like sketchy to get him off the ship or something. I think that part just felt very
Yeah. See, I
weird.
I disagree with Pulaski's, like, I disagree with her bringing that up, and because like Picard hasn't done anything yet, but
Yeah.
I don't think that was because she thinks he's gonna abandon the ship. I think that was more of like, she even says like it's due to like the anxiety and stress of confronting himself. Like it's more to do with like all the pressure and stuff of the situation, rather than she thinks like, oh, because this guy exists, that means he did something like cowardly.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, I just think that was like a really extreme
Yeah, it definitely
response.
like it definitely, that conversation was not warranted. Like
Yeah.
nothing that Picard had done up to that point, even if you interpret it as like she's more concerned about like the situation than what it means for that second Picard to be here, it's still, Picard hadn't done anything to warrant that kind of fear yet, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now it's you and I against Dory. Fight of the century.
But yeah, I see why you interpret it that way. It just, to me, it didn't come off that way to me. Like it came off to me that like the rest of the crew believed in Picard more than he himself did.
Oh, well, I agree. He absolutely had the most harsh reaction. I think with Dr. P, like, I think basically that I think just for her saying this, like, to me, it seemed like any action. So whether it was like him leaving or whatever kind of thing she just deems irrational. So I don't think exclusive to him leaving. I just, like, that's what it felt like to me, is just any action that she didn't think that was like, that she deemed as irrational or something, which to me falls in the category of like him leaving for whatever reason, or just any action that just, that's why to me it just felt over the top. Is like, okay, so like we were just judging by what you
definitely.
think is rational reaction, or like that
like,
doesn't.
Would you? Yeah.
Did you go to like? Do you have a degree from the rational school? That like, who are you to decide that? Like, it's like what doctors get to decide. Well, she's got, what is like her doctoring field? It's got to be just like, I said that she's a general practitioner or something, isn't she?
Well,
So like,
I mean,
or how does
actually,
this? How
I don't
does
know.
it work?
I don't know her specialty.
Let's be fair. Doctors in Star Trek are basically whatever the script needs them to be in terms of what kind of doctor they are. So it's not
Oh
consistent.
wait, maybe she did write a book about genetics.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's her specialty.
But genetics has nothing. So she doesn't have like a psychiatry degree then.
No, but
So-
it is true that the chief medical officer can relieve the captain of duty if they think that they're not competent or being irrational or whatever.
What if the doctor, I'm not saying Dr. P specifically, but I'm saying what if a doctor in this universe has like bad intentions and they're trying to get the captain to like get do something so they can call them unfit for duty so the doctor can take over, and they bring in another captain that's their minion. Oh, God.
That's called mutiny.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of considered that humanity's past things like
Yeah.
that, but, you know.
I mean, honestly, at this point, nothing. You think that, but then I think of the insurrection in January. So, like, at this point, who the fuck knows?
You're thinking of Star Trek Insurrection? Yeah, that's a movie that came out.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The name of a movie?
It's the ninth Star Trek film.
Oh my God. Star Trek? Do they also storm the Capitol?
No.
No,
No, it's not
unfortunately.
about that kind of insurrection.
Yeah. It's a feature-length mediocre TNG episode.
Yeah. It has some funny moments in it, but
Ooh.
It's fine. That movie's fine. If
Yeah.
it's like, if it's on TV at like 4 p.m, I'll watch it.
yeah.
Whatever.
I just want to see Riker with the joystick again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
He flies the ship with a joystick. It
Like Nintendo?
It was the 90s, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Okay.
It's not. They just added some stupid bullshit because why not?
Oh, Riker. Oh, I'm actually like so happy that we got some kind of background with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like the first information that we now know that he grew up just him and his dad. And I want to know,
Well,
like,
you'll get more this season.
ooh, do we get to meet his dad? No, don't tell me.
I can't
No, tell me. I
anything.
want. Oh my God. I hope we meet his dad.
I'm just saying you'll get more of Riker's backstory this season. That's all I'm going to tell
Oh,
you.
yay! Because truly, I know like nothing. He's probably the person we know the least about. We at least have like some idea of like everybody else's sort of dealio. But I'm yay! If we meet Riker's dad, okay, listen. Here's my now like thing. We know that Riker can now do these like cooking. I really want to see a group dinner party. Now that I know that Riker will, I was going to say cook, but I guess partially cook, partially, I've already forgotten what the machine is called. I'm going to write it down.
Replicator.
What's it called?
Replicator?
Replicator. I'm writing it down. In capital letters.
Because it replicates stuff.
Okay, and I'm underlining it 4 times. Okay. Yeah. I love to. I honestly really like that opening scene. I like to see like the little group having fun.
Mm-hmm. Just doing their own thing.
Yeah, except for Riker's gross eggs
Yeah.
that he made with some flair.
Maggie, I have a fun bit of backstory about this for you. This is the first episode that, before he had joined the writing team, that Ronald D. Moore was on set.
Oh.
Is this like Ronald D. Moore from like Battlestar Galactica and Outlander?
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
he was on TNG.
He was known as the Klingon guy in terms of a writer, and he was heavily influential in the writing of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where he was kind of co-show running it. He was like heading up the writer's room alongside Ira Stephen Bear. And he gets a lot of credit for that because a lot of the themes that came up in DS9 were later explored basically in almost the same way in Battlestar Galactica.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if this will get you excited for Deep Space Nine, but I hope it does. Basically, I don't know about Ronald D. Moore, but I know Ira Stephen Bear. He basically was kind of frustrated at the kind of happy-go-lucky, everything's perfect vision of the future, and he's the guy in charge of Deep Space Nine.
Yep. He was like, this is too perfect. We have to introduce some flaws.
Yeah. Yeah, so Deep Space Nine definitely has a significantly different tone to it than Star Trek The Next Generation. It's also, like, weirdly ahead of its time because it ends up having... It's kind of this interesting hybrid of serialized and episodic.
Yeah, it has several episode long arcs that all contribute to a larger story going on throughout the series.
Ooh, that's my kind of plot.
So,
Yeah.
did anyone notice the neat little bit of continuity when Picard and Riker are having their sit down in the ready room conversation?
No.
No.
All right. So, when Picard is going through other like time travel-ish things.
That's what
one
you
of the,
meant? Okay.
Yeah, because one of the things they bring up is the Traveler.
I thought
the,
you meant
the guy
visual continuity.
Oh, no. The Traveler is the one that was definitely not perving on Wesley. Do you remember that one, Dory?
Yeah, the older man.
They also mentioned Dr. Mannheim.
Ew, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So basically, yeah, it is neat that they make reference to previous episodes.
Yeah, I just thought that was a cool little tidbit.
Yeah.
I don't think I even noticed that.
And that's the way the good continuity should be.
Yeah. That's when they Picard and Riker were discussing like the different theories of time travel and stuff. Because they're like, they're basically trying to figure out what's going on, and Picard's like, well, the Traveler used his mind to travel and shit.
Oh, yes. Okay, I do remember it then. That's when Picard was on the couch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Were
yeah,
you just too distracted by the comfiness?
Honestly, that couch looked so comfy.
It did. And again, did you get a little bit more vibes between Picard and Riker?
That was a great scene. The two of them were speaking like good friends.
It was a good scene.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely got, like, vibes from Riker in that. I mean, in like... in the way, I mean, like, I put vibes onto Riker. Because it makes it funnier to me.
Hey, that's okay. Riker,
like,
knowing him, puts vibes on you.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times that when the both Picards were like near each other, I just kept yelling "kiss" at my computer? It's my favorite thing to do. Anybody at a certain extent just gonna yell "kiss."
No kiss.
Well, not anybody, but most
kiss.
people. I just think it's funny.
Anyone that stands too close to each other. Now kiss.
Yeah, pretty much. For a second, I was like, "Is Picard gonna Snow White other Picard?"
Kiss of true love. Well, I mean,
Self-love.
yeah,
Gotta believe in yourself, Picard.
you have to learn to love yourself.
Did you notice how Riker kept swiveling his chair as Picard was moving back and forth in that scene? That was really funny.
Yeah, that was.
Well, you know what's funny? When you brought up this scene, Jeff, when you were talking about like the parallel or whatever, I thought when you were first talking about this, like I didn't catch anything prior. Now I think about it, okay, yeah. I thought you were referring to like because Picard is like second Picard is opposite. Picard normally sits behind his desk, and now he was sitting on the couch, which is like I think this is the first time I've ever seen this couch. But then you were like, no, not like it's not a visual thing. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm just totally wrong. And he's just sitting on his couch.
I mean, we have seen him sit on the couch before with Troy and with Data.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I guess I just have couch on the mind lately.
Do you remember when Data's asking him about, in The Measure of a Man, about like what's going on with the whole situation? And he's like, I see. So it's precisely because I am not human that this whole thing can be done. And at the time, they're both sitting on the couch. And Picard is just like, all right.
Okay, maybe it was like the angle of the shot in this episode. It just like I did not.
The angle was definitely different.
I don't think I thought even much about the couch. Maybe because like stuff was happening, but just the way this particular scene, like just this shot of the way he's like lounged out on this couch. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why. It's just the couch is so much like so centered. Such a like feature.
Yeah, he was in a much more like relaxed position in this episode than in previous ones.
Yeah, because he's with his buddy Riker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I just remembered something that made me laugh unintentionally is like later on in the episode, you know, when everything starts to shake and everybody does their like worst job possible of shaking.
Oh yeah, that was
individually.
very unconvincing.
And I thought it was so funny. So you see, like, my favorite was Troy sitting cross-legged in the chair, just sort of like wiggling around a little bit, and then like Data just kind of like wiggling a little bit also. But then so you see everybody shaking, and then that's when the camera goes to O'Brien standing there staring at dead Picard.
Oh yeah,
and
he
I
doesn't move at all.
Burst out laughing. Yeah. So everybody else is shaking, but O'Brien's completely still staring at the body. And then it goes back, and I think it goes back and they're still shaking or something. It just I think it's so funny when they do stuff where they have to shake because it's nothing.
Because it looks terrible.
It's so, it's so all over the place.
I guess we should get into favorite moments, lines, or anything you want to bring up that we haven't gotten a chance to.
I thought it was really funny that Riker kept mentioning flair when cooking.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty funny, yeah.
He goes, and Data, as we both know, flair is what marks the difference between artistry and mere competence.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Says the man that
yeah.
made shitty eggs.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. Flair is definitely a factor.
In fairness, they aren't chicken eggs. They're some weird alien eggs.
Oh, yeah, I think you said like Yvonne or something.
Owan.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Juan.
So that's when Riker, he looks all sad, and he's like, well, a cook is only as good as his ingredients.
So I guess you're a shitty cook.
Yeah.
I did like that Worf really liked the eggs, and he just
Yeah.
goes, delicious.
Yeah, he goes to town on it. And like,
Worf.
basically, because Riker was like, oh yeah, the computer would give you everything in like pre-proportioned amounts, and it wouldn't allow for creativity and whatever. And it's like, you just described HelloFresh. Or Good Food or any of those other services. Not sponsored.
Oh my God.
But if you want to, definitely, we'll take it.
We like money.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I do love money.
We will insert your plugs.
I totally get it, but like, I'm sure for some people that would actually be very helpful. Like, just, yeah, give me everything I need in the exact amount I need, and then I'll just do it.
Yeah. I think they say in like the commercials for Good Food at HelloFresh. So there's like no waste. My God,
Yeah.
this is not sponsored.
God damn.
And I actually have had used both services. I think food-wise, I mean, they're both the services exactly the same. Food-wise, I think I actually like Good Foods better.
Yeah.
The only reason I got Good Foods, this is so depressing. So I guess a year and a half ago, when I was at my old job, I didn't have, like, we had to, our location of our shop was like, the AC was broken, so we had to work out of a different shop in the back area. And one of the guys that worked there was like a higher management, and I just didn't have time to like make proper food, so I went to the Walmart nearby and I bought just like chocolate milk and cereal, and I was just eating the saddest cereal and milk in the lunch in like the break room. And he comes over and he's like, "What the hell are you eating?" I'm like, "Lunch." And he goes, "That is so depressing." He goes, "Listen, I have a discount for Good Foods. Let me give it to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Hey, at least it
actually
worked
was
out
really
for
good.
you.
Oh yeah, I got like 3 weeks of free meals of Good Foods, and I actually really liked it. It was pretty good.
That's awesome.
I did, a friend of mine uses like HelloFresh, and she gave me like a week free. I think like food wise, the Good Foods tasted better. But yeah, it's a good service. It's a great service, not sponsored. Take a shot every time we say not sponsored. In this episode.
Yeah. See,
Maybe that's where they got the idea.
Yeah,
is
maybe.
Riker.
I don't think they had HelloFresh in the 80s.
No, I think it's probably in the last decade.
Yeah. See, I'm more on the Riker end of things, where it's like, I just like to buy stuff and then figure it out and do it on my own. But it is frustrating because I live by myself, and cooking for one person is actually surprisingly difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
agreed.
Especially, like, it's hard to buy stuff because no matter what you buy, it's going to be too much of it. And then it's, like, going to go to waste pretty much. Unless you're smart with it. That's why I buy frozen vegetables, save for a couple. So I buy frozen broccoli and, like, cauliflower and that type of stuff. But there's certain vegetables that just, like, don't freeze well, or they just taste really terrible. So carrots, I always buy fresh carrots. But carrots also, like, last for fucking ever. So you don't have to worry about them rotting. And potatoes, too. I just buy fresh potatoes. Same reason.
I wish I could just get a replicator. I don't like cooking. I'm not a particularly good cook. Baking I love, but cooking, it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
It's also dishes. I fucking hate doing dishes.
Yeah. I would love a replicator so that I could like have any ingredient that I want. And although if I'm being honest, I probably would just default to asking for specific dishes without having to make it.
Yeah, because then you can like season it yourself.
Yeah.
Like oh God, can you? I would assume you could like replicator be like, hey, chili flakes, please.
Oh yeah, for sure. If not, like you could be like, order an omelet with chili flakes on top. Or if not, you could just ask it for a jar of chili flakes.
Oh, true. And then I can distribute it accordingly.
Yeah. And then you don't waste anything because you just put it back in the replicator and it like dissolves it.
Ooh.
Well, it doesn't dissolve it. It like unmatterify. I don't know what you would call it. Because basically it rearranges matter into the food you want. And then it just undoes that.
Deconstructs?
Yeah. That's a good word for it. It deconstructs it. Anyway, continue on with favorite moments.
Oh, okay. I think, though, my absolute favorite moment, it's so tiny, but I laughed out loud. At the beginning, when Riker is, humming his jazzy tune and preparing everything, he cracks the egg with a knife, and he says boom when he does it.
Yeah.
He just, boom.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
So this is tough for me because I either have a clever favorite part that's like, just kind of fun, or just genuinely liking how Picard's buildup of frustration through this leads to his kind of outburst on the other Picard, because I really liked that scene.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to pick one.
Shut up. Yes, I do. But I also just really enjoyed when, towards the end, when he's demanding that the doctor wake the other Picard up. Mm-hmm. And she says, "Do you know what you're doing?" "No, wake him." And like that level of confidence, but also impatience at the same time, is the Picard I know.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, I generally like Patrick Stewart's performance in this. And I actually like the coda at the end. I wish there was more of it.
Yeah, the coda's fine. It's just short.
Yeah, it would be my favorite if there was just a little bit more to it. But I like that it's very obvious that this experience has had an effect on Picard. Mm-hmm. So I very much enjoy that aspect.
He had to face himself.
There are some consequences.
Yes.
Lasting consequences.
Well, we'll see.
Hopefully.
I mean, I don't think there's like direct consequences, but I think it definitely probably informs his character.
Still consequences in my book.
Yeah.
Just different, I almost said volume. Different level, we'll say.
Yeah.
Various amounts of consequences. Yeah. Just like a tiny nibble of consequence.
Several consequences.
Okay, so with that, we should get into predictions for the next episode. So, the next episode is called The Icarus Factor.
Okay.
And the best description I could give of this episode is it's the daddy issues episode.
Oh boy. Am I allowed to find out who's daddy?
No. Who's your daddy?
Do you really want us to tell you?
I don't know.
I mean, the daddy issues episode doesn't give you a lot to go on, to be fair. So
yeah,
it's up to you.
That's true.
It's got to be I would assume a daddy of one of the main group, right?
Yeah. So maybe I can put this a better way. Someone on the ship has daddy issues, and Worf is very angsty. The two are not. The daddy is not Worf's daddy.
Okay. Oh, this is hard.
Okay, someone's dad comes to visit, and they have to deal with their daddy issues.
Oh, well, no, I know, I see that. I'm just trying to, like, the rationale of who's daddy. I mean, we've seen Picard's mom. We've seen Troy's mom. Mm-hmm. We've heard nothing, I think, about Picard's dad. We have heard a little bit about Troy's dad. We know a little bit now about Riker's dad. Data, I guess his daddy is technically the guy who created him, but
Yep.
isn't he? I think he's dead, isn't he?
I don't remember if they said or not.
Because like they've talked about him so much, but like we never see him that I can remember.
I don't remember. I don't know what they've established at this point.
Oh, Geordie's dad. I mean, I would assume it's not Wesley's dad. Rip to Jack Crusher. This is actually really hard. You know what? Okay, I think that Picard seems more of like a mommy's boy. Just like his mom was the first person that popped up, and it seemed like he had a nice relationship with his mom. We know nothing about his dad.
What I could say is, whose dad do you want it to be?
Riker's.
Okay. And what do you want to happen?
Okay. Do you know what's funny? I literally just picture Riker's dad as just like basically exactly like Riker, just like somehow like just like a giant version. I don't know why.
And Jonathan Frakes is already very tall.
Oh no, he's very tall. I just like picture somebody even taller with a beard. I mean, but it does seem really soon. Okay, well maybe that's why they mentioned it in this episode, that Riker grew up with just his dad. And you guys did just say that we do get to learn more about Riker in this season. Okay, I'm going to go with Riker's dad. Although at the same time, I kind of feel like it's Troy's dad.
Okay.
Ooh.
Go with your gut.
So there's a difference. I think it's going to be Troy's dad, but I want it to be Riker's dad.
All right, go with that. Go with your heart then. Go with your heart.
Okay, I want it to be Riker's dad. And you know what? For the case of like that, I know you guys like my predictions and when I'm wrong. So we'll go. Okay, it's going to be Riker's dad. Mm-hmm. And okay. Here's my theory. So maybe Riker's dad was in Starfleet also, and he like comes over to like check to see how to like visit his son and see how like he's doing and everything. But he kind of like he's always been sort of a commanding figure and sort of like steamrolls Riker, and so maybe in this he kind of like oversteps. And it's something that like Riker's had to deal with his whole life, of his dad's just sort of like stepping in instead of letting him deal with stuff. Ooh. And so like he kind of oversteps to a point where like everybody's like, yo buddy, back the fuck up. Or even Picard is like, listen, he oversteps in a way that like it just like makes a big mistake, and he really shouldn't have, and it's like bad stuff as a result of that. That's what I'm going with.
Okay, cool. I like that idea.
I am prepared to be wrong.
All right, so if you want to find out, watch along with us and join us next time for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.